by Nathan is exciting. I know that even a lot of people look at my numbers and they say that you know, everything's always been perfect and everything's always been great, but I've had plenty of accidental, unplanned weekends off with 0 shows for training. So we've all been there. We've all had our tough times in the business, and you know, Nathan is definitely a good way to kick off this meeting. By the way, the BYO BNS is awesome. We started implementing it this summer, and you know, make sure that you refresh your cereal every once in a while, because these kids will be like, "This is stale. Get on the phone." Who cares? All right, so my message today is about setting the right student expectations, but it's not necessarily just students, it's the right expectations overall, and setting the right overall expectations, especially fall and spring, non-summer, is going to get you the right expectations for your students. A lot of people have been asking me, especially this weekend, for the GCK guys, when I went to the staff meeting down in Houston a couple weeks ago and was talking about my philosophies on training. People are like, well, how do you come up with the stuff that you come up with? How do you figure this stuff out? And you know, basically, you know, the way that I come up with a lot of my philosophies, my basic foundations of how I believe the business should be run, and how I believe that we should, you know, run our interviews and trainings, and you know, different areas of the business. I look at my business and I looked at some things, and I thought to myself, well, what's frustrating about the business to me? What am I not enjoying? What is mentally draining? What do I not like? You know, because there have been times when I was in the business that, you know, in previous campaigns and when I first started, I was like, this is tough. I don't want to wake up. I don't want to get on campus. I don't want to run an interview. I don't want to run advanced training. And because I was running it for the wrong reasons, and I didn't really understand why I was running the programs that I was running. I was just doing what I was told. So a lot of the things that I've come up with over the past year or two has been just basically out of that frustration. What am I not enjoying? What am I frustrated about? What is hard about the business? And each of those areas, I take that and I say, okay, well, how do I fix that area? What's a solution to make that not frustrating, not mentally draining, not annoying about the business? Now I love running the business. I love every aspect of the business. There's still things that I'm working on, but I love most of the things that I do in my job because I figured out why it's important to me. I figured out, you know, how to make it enjoyable and exciting and fun and inspiring and new every single day. So the key is to look at your business and figure out your philosophies on why it's important to run that area of the business. Don't just run the part of the business. Don't just run the interview because somebody said this is how you run an interview. Figure out why the interview is important to you. Figure out your basic fundamental philosophies in the business, and then figure out how to make it your own. Now, you can use the same verbiage, but make it your own and internalize it. You don't have to make up your own verbiage and say different things, but just to figure out why it's important to run each part of your business. My basic, just to give you an example, I know the GCK guys heard this, my basic fundamental philosophy on training is I want reps that are going to be responsible, I want them to be accountable, and I want them to be here for a long time. So those are my 3, and I looked at my training and I said, okay, I want people to be responsible, accountable, and here for a long time. So I looked at every area of my training seminar and I said, well, does this section make somebody responsible, accountable, and here for a long time? Okay, does this section make somebody responsible, accountable, and here for a long time? And I looked at every part of my training, and if there was something that didn't, I took it out. Okay, and if there was something that was, I really highlighted it. So I looked at those things and I figured out why it's important to run every area of the business. So what I want to focus on today is setting the right expectations for students and non-students, but obviously for the fall campaign, especially for students. I don't want you to listen to this and say, oh, well, I really like that idea, I'm just going to take that and use it, okay? Because there's going to be some things that I say today that you're not going to agree with, and that's fine. The whole point of today is to not to tell you how to run your business or how to give examples or how to do certain things in your office. The point of today is to start getting you thinking about the process. So I don't want you to think about exactly what I'm saying, exactly the examples that I'm using, but I want you to think about the process of figuring out how you promote things to your people and how you run things in your office. Because for everybody it's different. The examples that I give are just, they're rooted in my fundamental philosophies of the interview and of rep development. So don't just listen to what I say, figure out why I'm saying what I'm saying. So that's the challenge for today. All right, so some of the things that bothered me, some of the things that were frustrating to me. Number 1, reasons why people don't launch from day 1 to day 3. If somebody shows up to your office on day 1, they are fully committed to the job. They are 100% intending to launch. Nobody's going to come to your training on day 1 on Thursday and say, I'm just going to check it out for a day or 2. Probably won't be here on Saturday. Right? That's not what goes through their head. What goes through their head is, I'm really excited about this job. The reason why they were so excited about the job was because they were excited about the interview. Right? They came to the interview, they were excited about what they heard, they came to day one training. The reason why people don't launch from training is not because they don't have sample kit money. Right? It's not because their parents don't believe in the opportunity. It's not because of anything like that. It's because what they hear in training on Thursday and Friday during training is different from what they heard during the interview. And a lot of times we run the interview just to get great shows. Right? We run the interview just to get great shows because we want to give them this sexy view of the job. This job is so cool and you need to do this because blank, 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 and blank. They come to training, it's like, this is going to be the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. Right? And they have a different idea. Right? You have to make phone calls. What? Nobody told me about phone calls. Right? You have to drive to and from your demos. It's going to take longer than you thought. We told you it was going to be 35 or 45 minutes for a demo during the interview. Guess what? It's taking like an hour and a half. Right? So we're setting their own expectations because we're telling them one thing in the interview, but then they come to training, they hear something else. That's why people don't launch. That's it. Right? Because what they hear in the interview, there's a difference between what they hear in the interview and what they hear in training. Day one training, day one training is their interview. And if you really think that, if you really go into your interview with that expectation that day one training is the interview, Thursday is day two training. Right? When they first come to your office, it's the first time they're getting trained on the job because that's what they're learning, what it's all about. Right? That's it. Day one training is the interview. If you really think that day one training, the interview is day one training, then you'll run a great interview with the right expectations. Okay, so that's why people don't launch from day one to day three, is because they hear something different from training than in the interview. It's not what was expected. They have different expectations. The second thing that bothered me was reasons why parents don't like the job, right? Why some parents, obviously most parents love the job, but some parents. Why do kids say that my parents don't agree with the job? My parents don't think it's the right thing for me. Right? It's frustrating, right? It's a frustrating part of the business. I hate it. It's one of the things I really got frustrated when a kid said, really sharp kid, my parents just don't think it's for me. I just want to chew myself up inside. And the reason why people say that is not because their parents don't like the idea of the job. If you asked any single parent of any single one of your reps about our sales philosophy and our business model, they love it. And they know it's the best thing for the kids. The reason why parents are skeptical is because their kids go home and they say, Mom, I'm going to work 5 hours a week and I'm going to make $5,000 this semester. And Mom and Dad say, that's BS. Right? Because their kids are coming home, they're talking about all the money that they're going to be making with the little amount of work that they're putting in. And Mom and Dad say, that's bogus, that's a scam, you're not going to do it, you can't go into training because that's BS. That's why. That's the only reason parents don't like the job. It's not because they don't want their kids going to other people's houses, right? It's not because they don't want their kids seeing strangers. If they read the Skills for Life brochure, they know it's not that. It's because their kids are promoting the wrong income because we're promoting the wrong income during the interview. That's it. That's why parents are skeptical about the job. Right? If a kid goes home and says, hey Mom, I'm going to work 10 hours a week and I have a good shot at making $2,000 this semester, Mom and Dad are like, that's pretty solid income. Cool. And I think you can work around your school schedule and it won't sacrifice your studies. Right? Mom and Dad are excited about that. They're not excited about the too good to be true, sales business, right? So you have to set the right expectations for income. And the third thing that really upset me was reasons that people flaked out and quit after their first weekend. Why do people flake out and quit after their first weekend? Because their first week on the job is different from what they thought it was going to be. Right? They go into the job thinking it's going to be a cakewalk. Right? They think it's going to be one thing, they experience something else, and that's why they quit. Right? Nobody intends to do the job just for a weekend and then not do it anymore. They intend to do the job for a really long time. So if their first weekend they're getting different results than what they thought it was going to be, then they're going to question why they're in the job. That's it. So those are the three things that bother me. So how to fix them. So how to fix that? How to fix that is giving realistic expectations, giving the right expectations. So realistic, clear, and to the point. In your interview, if you explain something once the right way, you don't have to give 5 or 6 different ways to explain it, or all these different examples. If you explain it right the first time, that's it. Okay, for example, the sample kit. In order to get started, everybody has to pay $145. Okay, now they can keep that for themselves, okay, and it can be theirs forever, or they can return their kit when they're done, and they can get their deposit back. That way it just acts like a security deposit. That way they can get it back when they're done. If you